Good.
So far, good.
Good. Everyone else is
So far, good.
Good. Everyone else has asked fabulous questions.
Oh God, okay. No pressure then.
So I'm looking for that to continue.
Okay, right. First question, what's your favourite dessert? There you
I
go,
know.
great
Oh,
question.
great! No, I'm being silly.
But you must be looking forward to tomorrow night.
I
Crowd.
am. I mean, this is the best place for the film to come,
Exactly.
to be seen. So,
Oh, we're ready? Okay. Well, congratulations on the film.
thank you.
I understand that this has actually been with you for quite some time, this movie. Explain to me how it came about for you and then how you then convinced Amma to get involved as well.
Well, it came to me through producers I was working with in 2010 on a film called 96 Minutes, and they had optioned this book called Calabar by Susan Williams about Ruth and Suretse's marriage and the ensuing challenges they faced as an interracial couple. It was the picture of them on the book that first got me obsessed with the idea of making a movie about them, and that just wouldn't leave me as an ambition. I had worked with Amma on one of my first jobs out of drama school. I think we worked out, it was nearly 20 years ago now. And I had seen Belle that she had done, because I initially knew her purely as a writer, and here she was, showing up as a fantastic director, and I loved the idea of a female perspective on the story, and also she's, of African descent, but British like me, and so I think that is obviously thematically part of what the story is about, so she just felt like a perfect candidate for it.
And because it's something that's been close to your heart for some time, was there a sense of more pressure? I mean, I know you've played real life characters before, but in this instance, do you feel more pressure when it is real people's stories that you're depicting and stories that have been so important to a whole nation in this respect?
Yeah, there's definitely more pressure when you're playing a true person, especially someone who is of political significance, because that means that there's a real ownership of that individual by masses of people. And so you want to tell the truth of them as much as you can. You don't want to shy away from the uglier side of life whenever you're portraying these people. But thankfully with Suretse Karma in particular, this is a very admirable man, and I think his love for Ruth Williams, their love for each other, is something to really be celebrated and admired. But yeah, there's just that bit of added pressure when you're playing a true person.
And what's interesting about this London Film Festival for you is that you've also got another film at the festival, another film by a female director. Is it in a way shocking for you that in 2016 the conversation in Hollywood at the moment is that there aren't enough female directors and there aren't enough movies or projects being made with a racially diverse story, racially diverse cast? Is that something that still you find quite strange?
I find it very strange. I find the female director thing even stranger than the people of colour thing, because at least with female directors, it is indisputable that half the population, by and large, are female. And when you think of the cultural significance of films and how far and wide they can go in terms of expressing who we are as human beings, the idea that far less women are getting that opportunity to reflect us back to us doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't. People comment a lot about how many female directors I've worked with. I'm proud of it. It's something I seek to do intentionally, but it should not be anomalous. It just shouldn't. And I really hope very soon we'll get to the point where it isn't so rare.
And that's the thing, I think, for most actors, it's the story first and foremost. Obviously, it's great to work. I'm a champion female directors. But for you, when I looked at your IMDb and all the different films and different types of films you've been involved in, what is your approach to your career? Do you have an actual plan, or is it just whatever touches you and you pursue those? How do you approach it?
Yeah, I do have a plan. I have the 3 Ps is what I call it: the people, the project, and the part. And if the part speaks to me, that grabs my attention. If the project is one that I feel is meaningful, entertaining, and one that I think has something to say, that gets my attention. But really, it's the people involved. You know, I really want to keep on learning as an actor, and you do that by surrounding yourself with people who are better than you, people who are great at what they do. And so every now and again, those three elements come together in a project. That was definitely the case with this for me, and working with Amma and Rosamund in particular, you know, was something I was very desirous to do.
And even though you have many years' experience in the industry, would you say that you're still learning? Is that something that always happens for actors? Is that a continuing process?
You're never going to become an expert of what it is to be a human being, or how it is to evoke what it is to be a human being. We are so complex and layered and confusing and fascinating. And my job is to evoke what it is to be a human being. So I will never become an expert. I will never fully reach the zenith of what it is to be an actor. That's what fascinates me. That's what keeps me coming back. That's why I like to play as different an array of characters as possible, because, you know, I learn more about who we are as people with every role I play.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I really
you.
loved the film.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, and good luck tomorrow night for the premiere.
Thank you.
I know. I hear. They tell us.
Oh well, it's all right. Not too much longer, hopefully. Well, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
I'll have to admit, I didn't know anything about this story before I saw this film. For you embarking on the project, how much did you know, and then how much research did you then have to do to kind of understand the characters?
I didn't know anything about it. I as I think most people did not. I just fell in love with the idea of this love story. I fell in love with Ruth and Seretse and their zest for life and their commitment to each other and their appetite for courage, really, and for standing up to everything that was against them. Because that's what a great love story needs, is obstacles in the way of the couple, and this one certainly had that.
And huge obstacles.
Huge obstacles, yes, on a social level, familial level, and then a political level. And it was exciting to sort of see two people change. You know, Ruth, my character, you know, she's not born with a political agenda. She doesn't have she's not trying to change the world, and yet she ended up changing it. And that's more exciting to me, somehow. Someone who finds their voice under our eyes, you know, while we watch.
That's the thing. I mean, the story is so fascinating. But for you and David as actors taking on these characters, because they are real people and that their story was so important, is there an added sense of responsibility going into something like this compared to another project?
No, I think it's actually quite, in this case, it was quite liberating, because it wasn't like they were public figures. I think for people at the time, they were definitely, and now I've gone to the British Library and called up all the old editions of the Mail and the Express and the Guardian. You know, you see that they were all over the papers then. But I mean, for most people now, you know, that's forgotten. So there's a bit more leeway. It's not like you're playing Princess Diana or Winston Churchill, you know, where everybody knows how they spoke and how they looked and everybody has an image. It's not a pressure like that. But the pressure is making the film good enough so that the story will be seen and embraced. That was really the pressure.
And as well as being shot in London, I know that you guys also went to Botswana, and I was just talking to Amma, she said two of Ruth and Seretse's sons came to the set. Was that quite thrilling for everyone involved, I guess?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, because the wonderful thing is that Ruth and Seretse's eldest son, Ian, is now the president of Botswana, you know, so he helicoptered in one day and, you know, I mean, you know, and he's a popular president, so, you know, people were sort of in awe. I mean, all our extras were flooding. It was very disruptive to filming, of course, but a great honour at the same time. And then we were all invited to breakfast at, you know, the equivalent of the White House on our last morning there, which was also just, you know, great. And we've got this weird picture of me and David and Ian Karma, you know, us as the sort of grinning, proud parents and our sort of grown son who's older than both of us. It's quite funny.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
great memories from that shoot.
Yeah,
then.
great memories, yeah. And Botswana, it was great to film there. I mean, you know, and you really, you know, it's a tough country to shoot in. There's a huge, you know, they're suffering from huge drought. And it's very, very hot, and everything desperately needs water, and they're not going to get it. And, you know, they've had a drought. They haven't had rain in 2 years, and maybe not for another 2, proper rain. And it's you know, it's in trouble. But it's also, you know, one of the most successful and prosperous and least corrupt countries in Africa. And that's largely thanks to Ruth and Seretse.
Of course. And the great thing, I guess, about being an actor is that you do get these opportunities to go and travel and make films in different countries.
Yeah.
And, for you, when you're approaching projects, what have you got, like a kind of to-do list on your kind of resume of what you want to, where you want to go?
Well, one of them was to do a Western, which I've just completed. I just came back 2 days ago from New Mexico, where I've just done a Western with Scott Cooper. So that was on my to-do list, to go and do a movie on horseback and, you know, live in that part and learn about the American West and the settling of the American West. And so that was on the to-do list, and that's done. So I have to think again now.
But when it comes to picking your roles for you, is it the director involved, the other cast members, or is it just the story?
Usually it would be the director, you know, usually. But in this was an unusual case in that David and I came on board before Amma was found. So, you know, that was a slightly back to front project. But yeah, I really want to work with great filmmakers. Because that's your only chance, really.
And final question, is it shocking to you that the conversation in Hollywood at the moment is about a lack of female directors and also a lack of diverse stories, interesting stories that represent people from all cultures? Is that something that's quite surprising to you?
Surprising, no, because I know how rare it is to meet a female director. I mean, they're just, you know, I mean, it's so funny that you even say that, isn't it? Female director. You don't talk about, I just work with a male director. You know, I had this great experience with a male director in New Mexico. I mean, I should probably start saying that. It would be my sort of subtle political thing, you know. It's great. Scott Cooper's one of the greatest male directors working in Hollywood today. Maybe I should just start saying that.
I think you should, actually. That would be good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. I really loved the film.
Oh, good.
And enjoy the premiere tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Who needs a man to take the lid off?
Thank you very much.
Don't worry, happens to the best. That's like what it was like.
What's happened? My wrist got a bit weak. Sorry about that. I just needed to sip of water.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry. It's warm with the lights and everything. I
It
guess.
is really warm. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it.
Yeah. Hydration. It's important. Okay, we're ready then. Well, massive congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Absolutely loved it. I didn't really know much at all about the story, I have to admit. Before, I know that David was instrumental in getting you involved, but before that, did you know anything about this?
I didn't know anything about the story whatsoever until that call came from David that fateful night. So it was intriguing to me when he sent the photo essay over of the couple, sort of images of them starting from around 47 into the 50s, and to imagine that there was this couple that was so they were sharp, the fashion aspect of them, the fact that they were an interracial couple, the period, and then of course discovering the political backdrop behind their decision to marry and go back to Africa was just so intriguing.
That's the thing, because I mean, we've had stories before of interracial couples, period stories, which are always really interesting anyway.
Yeah.
But then the whole political turmoil that then happened was such a shocking element to the story. Because obviously this is true, do you feel more responsibility as a filmmaker going into something like this when you know how important the story's been for the people of Botswana, their family members?
Absolutely. You can't help but to feel a responsibility, and I think it's right to feel a responsibility. But it's also important to be able to take a point of view and have a vision for the story that you want to tell, and ensure that you're telling the story in a way that it will reach worldwide audiences, because the best thing you can do for the country and the best thing you can do for Ruth and Seretse to honour their memory and their courage is to ensure that lots of people get to see this film. So it's constantly a balance as well, not to feel too restricted by that responsibility, and not to allow it to kind of tie your hands in many ways. But definitely, and yes, I agree with you, as a black woman, I'm not massively interested in telling stories of interracial couples in that way. They're just people who are in love to me, but it's about what happens around that love. And in this story, it's about the fallout that love created, and and the force with which pressure came at them in order to try and force them from doing what came naturally to them in many ways.
And another element that's great about this film, obviously it's a period piece, so you have to show that in the costumes and the cars and the locations. How challenging was that element of the filmmaking?
Well, to be honest, coming off of the back of Bell, which was an even earlier period, 18th century London, it felt quite natural to move up, a century, many decades, if you like, and to be telling this story. I was very used to it. I was probably the one on set who was saying, do we need to show that drain? Isn't it a bit modern? Can't we shift the camera a bit so that we don't have to deal with that in post-production? So I feel very comfortable and at home with period pieces in that sense. But, it's the visuals that they give you. It's period pieces give you such a wonderful visual. You can create a world that is so evocative of a period that you may not have lived in, but you can experience a moment of through making a film and as an audience member watching it.
And it must have been exciting for you to get to go and shoot in Botswana as well.
Yes.
What was that like? And I understand that Seretse and Ruth's son came to the set. Is this right? And tell me what happened there.
Yes, both two of his sons came and visited the set. It was very, not only important to film in Botswana, but to film in some of the locations where the events we were depicting really took place. So, the house that Ruth and Seretse actually lived in when Seretse returned to Botswana with her. The hospital that Seretse was born in is a hospital where you see Ruth giving birth in our story. It was great. It was wonderful, first of all, to earn the respect of the people of Botswana and, have their endorsement in terms of us making the film. To ensure that we had some of the country's DNA running through our film was very important. I'd never been to Botswana before. I don't know if I ever would have experienced such a unique and wonderful country were it not for Seretse and Ruth in this film. So it was just a great privilege, really.
Great. And before I run out of time, I was just speaking to David about this, but in the current climate, the conversation in Hollywood is about a lack of female directors and a lack of racially diverse stories. Yet you're kind of putting two fingers up to that, I guess. But is it shocking to you that in 2016, some of the things that were affecting, well, obviously not politically, but affecting Ruth and Seretse are kind of still an issue now? Is that shocking to you?
Yes, it is very shocking to me as a woman, if you like, on the end of some of these issues, lack of opportunity, that kind of thing, both for being a woman and a person of colour. But that's what period pieces about race and gender and some of these issues can do. They allow us a measure. They allow us something to measure ourselves against today and to see how far we have or have not come. And that's why these stories are important as well. On the face of it, this is a story about Ruth and Seretse and elements that happened in 1947 and onwards, but ultimately, in the end, it's asking us about who we are today in terms of diversity and who we want to go on and be in the future as a society. That's very important. And so it makes me proud that I can both be the person behind this film, but also ensure that David has a good, strong platform to stand upon in being a character who's at the centre of his own story.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank
I really
you.
love the film.
Thank
Thanks
you
a lot.
so much. Thank
and,
you.
Enjoy the premiere.